Folks, welcome back to Ndaba Africa. This is Chris. Well, this issue that took place on the 5th of November on Sedudu Island in the Chobe River between Namibia and Botswana is not going away. In fact, it's getting more heated as the days pass. What I'm referring to is the shooting of 4 suspected poachers by the Botswana Defense Force on Sedudu Island. Now, I previously did a video looking into this with all publicly available information over a week ago. And that video is done quite well, so thank you for those who've tuned in to watch that video. But I must say that the vile, disgusting, inappropriate, and childish comments from many people from the Namibian side who seem to have the inability to use critical thinking skills in commenting on my video without even watching it or watching it and not hearing what was actually said is a bit disturbing. So once again, let's talk about facts here. The information I provided in the previous video was a consequence of 3 Namibian news media sources reporting the information, as well as the Botswana Defense Force publicly releasing information to the Zambezi District Police from Namibia. And in that, they said they shot 4 suspected poachers on Sedudu Island. Yeah, now I've talked about Sedudu Island. What it is has a different name, of course, on the Namibian side, but the island is a sovereign Botswana territory as per an International Court of Justice decision from 1999, in which the 2 countries submitted their grievance to the International Court of Justice, and it awarded the island to Botswana. However, nationals from both countries are allowed to transit the water channels around the island, as it's deep enough to indicate that it's a navigable waterway on both sides. So Namibians can go through the water, and they can go through there at night. There's no restrictions on that. However, no one can enter Sedudu Island from outside Botswana without permission from the Botswanan immigration authorities. It is sovereign territory. To enter that island is to enter an island, the territory, illegally. In addition to this, I've heard many people write comments to me that it's not poaching, it was fishing. Actually, illegal fishing is poaching, as per the definition for the word in the English language. So if they were fishing illegally at night on Sedudu Island, then in fact they were poaching. So you need to expand your definition, those of you who have the inability to understand the word poaching. Poaching is not simply shooting rhinos and elephants. It's also taking fish illegally, and it's done around the world. Just ask all of the African countries who are angry at China and the Europeans for illegally fishing off their coast, and there's nothing they can do about it, unfortunately. But in this situation, folks, back on the 5th of November, 3 brothers, Tommy, who was 48, Martin, age 40, and Wamunyima Nchindu, 36 years of age, plus their cousin Sinvula Muyeme, 44, were shot by the BDF on the night of the 5th of November on Sedudu Island. Now, this news report out of Namibia claims that, this is the New Era Live from Namibia, claims that they were shot along the Chobe River, but it's not specific about where they were shot. Namibian and Botswana authorities have both confirmed previously that they were shot on Sedudu Island, which is sovereign Botswana territory, and they had no business being there. They had no permission, no visa, no authorization to be there. Now, that doesn't warrant being shot. I'm just saying that they violated international law. Now, Namibians have been petitioning the Botswana High Commissioner, and that's Batlang Sarema, in Namibia about this issue. Protesters in the petition demanded the abolishment of Botswana's, as they call it, draconian shoot-to-kill policy, which they said has claimed 37 Namibian lives. The problem with this is highly emotional and not in the least bit balanced, and it doesn't even begin to question why there is a policy like shoot-to-kill when it comes to poachers. They don't seem to give a flying flip about the innocent Botswana civilians who've been murdered by criminal syndicates coming from Zambia and Namibia on a repeated basis, or the BDF soldiers murdered by them, or for that matter, the reason that the BDF is even involved in this whole situation at all is because criminal syndicates from Namibia and from Zambia, as well as Zimbabwe, had been invading sovereign Botswana territory, killing off wildlife, and murdering park rangers in Kasane, among other places. This is the reason for this policy in the first place. This inability to even objectively look at this issue is part of the crux of the problem here, folks. We demand the immediate withdrawal of acts of aggression towards our people, terrorizing, killing, intimidation of our innocent civilians along the stretch of our common borders and on Namibian soil, says Joseph Masule. And he read this petition. Now, my question to Mr. Masule is, what exactly are you talking about? The border with Botswana that Namibia has forms two-thirds of Botswana's entire border. The entire western flank of Botswana, all the way up to the Okavango, and from the Okavango across what was known as the Caprivi all the way to Kasane is a border shared with Namibia. Where are the Botswana Defense Force killing innocent civilians and terrorizing people? Now, it's only in places where wildlife is being poached that we hear about these shootings. Now, gee, I wonder why that might be. Might there be a correlation between illicit poaching and hunting and the shootings? Now, he mentions a 9-year-old boy named Tuwapaya who was brutally shot and killed by BDF soldiers at Lizaoli in the Zambia region in 1998. Now, I'm familiar with this. I'm unfamiliar with that particular shooting. That's 22 years ago. I'm familiar with that particular one, so I really can't comment on that. Masuli has also demanded an immediate unconditional apology from Botswana's President Eric Masisi. Well, good luck with that. He further demanded a speedy completion of the joint investigation into the killing of 4 fishermen. For that, I have no objection. Actually, I think that's a prudent decision that both countries should have an investigation into what happened here to prove or disprove whether these folks were illegally invading Botswana's sovereign territory and whether they were poaching. And finally, the third issue here is whether the shooting was justified by the Botswana Defense Force. So that is a reasonable expectation. We request feedback to our demands from your office within 7 days from the date of this petition to provide us with plausible feedback and commitment on the demands outlined in this petition. Well, that's unreasonable. 7 days is absolutely ludicrous, and it's juvenile to expect a response back on an investigation. I've done plenty of investigations into misconduct or purported misconduct in the past while serving in uniform. No one can conduct an investigation in 7 days and get the actual answers as to what happened here. It takes time. Not to mention the fact that Kasane is a remote location and not some place where these investigators will be sitting up every day. Now this from the Namibian, another newspaper in Botswana. It's an editorial from the 13th, so 5 days ago now, so I've given this some time to digest. But the Namibian's editorial describes Botswana's extrajudicial execution of alleged trespassers from neighboring countries will never stop until several multinational solutions are put in place. Well, extrajudicial, no, it's not extrajudicial. These soldiers are empowered legally in Botswana to shoot poachers. So it's not extrajudicial. You're mistaken there. That's fake news, number one. Fake news, number two, is execution. You have no evidence of an execution. What evidence do you offer here other than your op-ed? Nothing. Alleged trespassers. How are they alleged? The Zambezi Police District reported that they were shot on Sedudu Island. That would be trespassing. Unless President Hage Geingob and the Namibian government come to terms with their limitations, expect the Botswana Defense Force to continue killing and torturing Namibians they claim are poachers with a kind of impunity for which there are no loopholes in international law. If the Botswana Defense Force was killing people with impunity, there'd be a lot more than 37 people killed in 3 decades. A lot more. That just doesn't pass the common sense test. And torturing, who was tortured? Where are these claims of torture? What are you talking about? What evidence do you offer for this? Once again, just emotional nonsense here. The Namibians Investigations Unit, in conjunction with INK, a counterpart in Botswana, reported in early 2016 the BDF had killed more than 50 Namibian and Zimbabwean citizens in 20 years. Okay. It's probably a legitimate number. What's your point? What exactly is your point? Where is your information on the number of Botswana civilians who were murdered by poaching syndicates and the number of soldiers murdered and the number of rangers murdered? No discussion of that whatsoever. You see, this one-sided sort of fraudulent reporting is dishonest by its lack of omission. I don't have the data, so I can't tell you the numbers, but I do know that people have been killed. I lived in Botswana. I worked with the Botswana Defense Force and dealt with these situations. Absolutely. The BDF's continued arrogance and persisting with the policy and their unilateral operations should worry southern African countries. Someday it may trigger wars between neighboring countries. Unlikely. Unilateral operations, of course, unilateral operations. They occurred on Botswana soil. Should they allow other countries to invade their territory to conduct operations in the interest of their own security? No, the Botswana Defense Force is perfectly capable of defending the sovereignty of Botswana, which is what they were doing. At least that's what they assert they were doing. The reported close-range shots to the heads of 3 brothers should not only evoke moral outrage, but it's reminded politicians that borders as old and colonial as they are will not change centuries-old livelihoods or cut family ties. Well, you live in a modern system, and the border is established by the International Court of Justice. Unfortunately for you and your fraudulent claim, Namibian, the government of Namibia took this case to the International Court of Justice, and both parties agreed that they would abide by its results. So your whining about colonial borders is horse manure, so stop it. It's fraudulent. It is the Organization of African Unity that decided that borders within Africa were sacrosanct and would not be changed. The OAU decided that, and the African Union reinforced that when it came into existence. Now, it has waffled on that position by allowing, for instance, the creation of Eritrea and for the creation of South Sudan and supporting Western Saharan independence. So it has definitely backed off that stance. But for the majority of its existence, its entire existence, the Organization of African Unity argued against and refused to accept changes to boundaries. Hence the reason why Biafra does not exist. So you're whining about colonial boundaries is horse manure, and only the uninformed and the functionally illiterate would fall for it. Botswana may have won the fight with Namibia for ownership of Kasikili, Sedudu Islands, but that will never change the fact that indigenous people continue to live their lives, transcending borders. No, it will change the fact. And you don't have any right to invade someone's sovereign territory. It's as simple as that. At home, Botswana has long been reported to have expelled and even killed nomadic San people to clear land for mining and tourism economy. Yeah, these are fraudulent claims by a expelled Australian lecturer from the University of Botswana, Kenneth Good, I believe his name was, who made fraudulent claims. Yes, the government of Botswana has not treated the Basarwa or San people particularly well. I have been an outspoken critic of the government, the Botswana Democratic Party's what I consider legitimately to be abuse of the San people in pushing them out of the Kalahari. But it's not for mining or tourism. It's because of their misplaced paternalistic approach to the San people. They should allow them to live and let live and not intrude into their lives. So get your facts straight. Get your facts straight. Meanwhile, for their part, the military, the Botswana Defense Force, has shared their comments as to what happened here. And I'd like to share that with you here. This is a statement from the Botswana Defense Force. They said, in its mission of defending Botswana's territorial integrity, sovereignty, and national interests, the BDF informs the public about an incident between members of the BDF and poachers, which resulted in 4 poachers being killed. The incident, which happened on November 5th at around 11 p.m. in Sedudu area, the southern channel of the Chobe River southwest of Kasane, involved contact with a syndicate of poachers believed to be part of a network responsible for cross-border organized poaching, the BDF said in a statement. As previously stated, there is an alarming surge of organized poaching for rhinoceros and elephants, especially in the western part of the country, the Okavango Delta, and in the Chobe National Park. Yeah, now the News 24, a South African outlet, has said that the deceased were unarmed fishermen, but they have no evidence of that. It's simply a family member who claims that they left from camp unarmed. Well, that's nice. Not all people who have weapons keep their weapons around their family. They actually keep them hidden locations. Now, I'm not making that claim. What I'm saying is that you're making claims and assertions in the media that simply have no basis in fact. Let's allow this investigation to continue and find out what actually happened here. It seems highly implausible that Botswana Defense Force soldiers were lying in wait just for the heck of it in the midst of the pandemic, waiting to find Namibians on Sedudu Island or to drag them onto Sedudu Island to execute them at close range. To what end? Is there a personal animosity between these Namibians and someone in the BDF? Did someone owe a debt? You have to give at least a plausible reason when you make up these stories. And there's no plausible information provided here by the Namibian editorial. Any of the people who are angry, the protesters who appeared at the High Commission, nothing, not a damn thing. And so, folks, you need to be objective about this issue and address it straightforward and not play these games. The BDF is exercising its lawful mission as appointed by the government, by law, to do this in the interest of national security. It's not extrajudicial. You have no evidence of torture, no evidence of executions. You have a statement from the BDF. You have the Zambezi Police District releasing information, and you have media sources in Namibia being irresponsible in many fashions. It's unfortunate. Namibia is a wonderful country, but it is a shame that its media is so dishonest here in this case. The initial reports were honest. Now what are we getting? No further information and speculation running wild. Interviewing family members who were not present when these folks were shot. So what do they know? What do you know? What do I know? We were not present. We'll have to leave this for an investigation to find out what actually happened. And preferably that would be a joint investigation with Namibian police authorities who were involved for transparency purposes. So there you go, folks. If you're not a subscriber to Chris White Africa, I ask that you become a subscriber by smashing that subscription button right down there. And feel free to leave a comment. If it's abusive and it comes from the Namibian side or from the Botswana side, you'll just find yourself being the subject of an abusive comment video coming up, and abusive comments video. And finally, I ask that you smash the like button. And I'd like to leave this video with one further comment. For the Namibians who cannot think objectively, don't bother. You clearly don't want to hear the facts. You simply want to blame the BDF. If the BDF has committed an offense here, it will be dealt with. It will be dealt with. And a transparent investigation between the Zambezi police and the Botswana Police Service would be an appropriate investigation here. So there you go, folks. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time here on Chris Wyatt, Africa.